All right, so for these problems, again, we're finding the solution to systems. So for the first three, again, these are linear systems. So the solutions we want to find, again, are where the two lines cross each other. But as we talked about in class today, I want to add something to it. Not only do I want to find where, again, we'll just call them f equals g of x, I want to find where f is greater than g and where f is less than g. So I want to find not only the solutions, meaning where they're equal, I also want to find where it's greater than and where it's less than. Okay, and we'll do number 1 as an example here. And it should look very familiar to you. So for number 1, I'm just going to arbitrarily label the graphs here. And you could label them whatever you want, and you could label which graph. So I'm making this line f of x, and I'll make this line g of x. You could have switched them. You could make the bottom one f of x and the top one g of x. It really doesn't matter. Okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the solution. Okay? So where do these two graphs cross each other? They cross right here at 2, or negative 2, 1. All right, but when I'm trying to find the solutions and where things are greater than or less than, I only really care about the x value. So f equals g, we're going to say at x equals negative 2, right? So f equals g at x equals negative 2. Because at the value negative 2, that's where the graphs cross each other, right there. All right, so for the second one, where is f greater than g? Okay, so f is greater than g, meaning where is f of x above g of x? Well, it's going to be all this area right here, right? What I'm putting there in yellow. So all that is where f of x is greater than g of x, meaning it's above. All right, and now if these are truly lines, that means they go in the same direction, or they keep going infinitely in both directions. So it starts being greater than g at negative infinity, right? Because it could be there, and it stops being greater than g at negative 2, because that's where it crosses, that's where it's equal. So my answer is an interval, meaning I have a whole interval of answers that are greater than g, right? I could pick any one of those numbers. I could pick at x equals 4. Yep, that's greater than g. I could pick x equals 3. Yep, that's greater than g. I could even pick 2.5. Yep, that's greater than g. So there's a whole bunch of different places that are greater than g. So that's why I write the interval. So f is greater than g from negative infinity all the way to 2. Because at negative 2, that's where it actually becomes equal. All right, and then lastly, let's talk about where f is less than g. So where f is less than g is all this down here, right? Because that's where it's below g of x, all that purple stuff there. So if it's below, it starts being less than at negative 2. And it's going to continue this way all the way until positive infinity. Which a lot of you are like, wait, it's going down, so isn't that negative infinity? When we talk about intervals, we only care about the x value. Yes, the graph is going down, but as it's going down, it's also going to the right. So as it's going down, it's also reaching towards positive infinity. Okay, so that is how we're going to do these problems. And for the rest of these, for the lines, I have a feeling, you guys are going to be just fine. But I want to spend my time going over, I want to spend my time going over the next set of problems, number 4 through 6. Okay, so for numbers 4 through 6, you'll notice how I have absolute value as well as lines. Okay, and for today, all I need you to do is find where f equals g, where f is greater than g, and where f is less than g. So I need you to find those three things. Okay? So f is equal to g. Well, that means where do the two graphs intersect? I have a spot here and a spot right here. So they seem to cross at x equals 2, right? X equals 2, and again at 6. So they cross at 2 and they cross at 6. Okay? So that is where f equals g. All right, let's talk about where f is greater than g. So now we have to really think about which graph is f with which graph is g. Again, it doesn't matter which graph you pick as which. I mean, you could pick either one. So I'm going to make the bottom one here f of x, and I'm going to make the graph up top here g of x. Again, it doesn't matter which one you label f of x or g of x because you're finding both greater than and less than, and they'll be opposite, so we'll be just fine. All right, so where is f of x greater than g of x? So that means where f of x is above g of x. Well, the only spot is right here, right? That spot on the graph is where it's above g of x. So that is the place where it's above. So it's above starting at x equals 2 and goes all the way until 6. Right? Because that's where f of x is above g of x. Meaning the graph, the line is above the absolute value at those 2 points, or on that interval. Okay, but we also need to find where f of x is less than g of x. So this spot right here and this spot right here. See how those are below g of x, or they're below the other graph? Okay, so there's 2 different spots, meaning I have 2 different intervals. So the first interval, again, if this is a line, it's being continuous, so it's going to start being less than the negative infinity, go all the way to positive 2. Okay, and then it's going to pick up again at 6 and go all the way to positive infinity. Because there's 2 different spots where f of x is below g of x, meaning it's below the absolute value graph. So those are 2 different spots, but make sure if you write 2 different intervals, you write the letter u in between them there. Okay? So, again, the key thing here is it doesn't matter which one you label f of x or g of x, just make sure you tell me. And something that we talked about in class is being able to write the equations. We'll do that together. We'll keep on practicing that. Right now, I'm only concerned that you realize where the graphs are equal to each other, where one graph is greater than and where one graph is less than. So make sure you label the graph and answer these questions.